Okay. Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to thank you for inviting me to do this. I was quite happy to be able to share some of my photos with you guys. Um, I just wanted to say too that like I don't mind if people have questions or comments throughout. Like it could be more of a discussion than just me sort of saying everything, even though I can't see anyone. But feel free to come add your comments at any time. Um, this first picture here is actually a common flower in the woods of Western Newfoundland.
Can anybody
Trailing
hear me?
Arby.
Can anybody
Yep,
hear me? Yeah,
yep.
you're not on the whole screen here. It's a very odd.
What?
Oh no, it's
Okay.
okay.
No.
Yeah, there's all kinds of. Carry on.
Yeah,
You're
I
okay?
think best
Yeah.
way is to use
It,
speaker view.
oh, here we go. Here we go.
Okay. All right. Sorry. That's
All good?
Yeah,
No,
I got the
there's a bar across the bottom of the picture,
Okay, I'll hide that. There we go. Good
and
now?
I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff up on top, but that might be me. Okay, carry on now.
Okay. All right. So I was just going to mention that this was the first flower I actually photographed this spring. So I thought I'd start off with that flower tonight. So I also gave a lot of thought about to how I would organize this talk, and because I do have a lot of images, and it was a bit challenging to pick some, so I decided to stick to the West Coast, and I sort of did it by location. I figured that would be an easier way to sort of break things down. So you can see I borrowed this map. I think this is actually a limestone barrens map, but it does show nicely the west coast of Newfoundland. And so I listed the regions here that I'm going to be showing images from. And I'll start off with Port Stephenville area down here, because this is usually the first trip I take each spring to look at wildflowers. And then in July, the last few years, my husband and I have gone up right up to the top. And we usually go to Burnt Cape in the Northern Peninsula, and we stop in at Port au Choix, of course. Gros Morne as well is not far from Corner Brook, so we do spend some time there in the summer. And then when I have a few images from Corner Brook, Deer Lake area, and then I end off with a couple down from the Codroy Valley. So I start off with Port Stephenville area. And I guess many of you know that Port does have actually some limestone barrens as well. Most of them are at the top of the Northern Peninsula, but there are some out at Cape St. George and that region going over to mainland on the Port Peninsula. So here you can see sort of a couple of images. The first one here is actually some of the limestone barrens in that area. And this one is the view looking up from Cape St. George, which is quite lovely. One of my favorite places. So the reason I usually go to Port first is because of the purple saxifrage. So it's usually one of the first things that blooms each spring. And it's a little tiny plant, and you can see how it grows in here amongst the limestone gravel, which is pretty amazing. It's a tiny little plant, but very colorful. And this one I caught a little bit early this year. It wasn't fully out, but I did manage to get some nice images of it. This year, though, as I said earlier, the first plant I actually photographed was the trailing arbutus, because I know a little patch where that's right in the sun, and it actually came out quite early this year. So this was a second flower I photographed this year. And the Laurentian primrose is also out there in that area. And at the lower part of Cape St. George, there's a small municipal park campground. And there's a little field out at the edge on the cliff. And it's just like it's filled with these. So the Laurentian primrose was everywhere when I was out there. I hit it right at peak, which was lovely. So this is another beautiful plant. And then I had, of course, the Mountain Avens, which comes out around the same time. And these I actually took over. I think this one's actually at Cape St. George, and this one's at the Limestone Barrens, which is just further down the highway, a few kilometers. And these can be quite plentiful as well at that time. This is another limestone barren plant called Arctic bladder pod. And I really like this one too, because you can see the leaves here. They're kind of like a really dusty blue color. I guess, I don't know, is that called a bloom, John?
Yeah.
Mm. And with bright yellow flowers, so it really kind of contrast. So uh, that one, I sometimes I miss that. Some years I get it and some years I don't. So I guess just depends on timing. And this is another really common one up there, which is the Newfoundland oxytrope or field oxytrope. And there's a close up there, the flowers. And this is a little path up on the top of Cape St. George. And you can see that it's right filled with the Newfoundland oxytrope, which is kind of nice. It's like it's very plentiful there. And then there's some pussy toes. So there's the elegant pussy toes here up on Cape St. George. And then this one here is the alpine pussy toes, which is, again, was up on the Barrens up higher. A lot of the flowers, again, I usually use my cell phone to take most of these pictures now. I stopped lugging my big old camera a few years ago and I just use my cell phone. But, I guess as most of you know, the wind is always blowing in Newfoundland. So it's a challenge sometimes to photograph some of these, especially these tall ones like this. They just don't stop moving in the wind. This is Northern Peinisula. Again, I just noticed this one a couple years ago up on the Cape. And it has these little flowers early in the spring. And then the berries come out, of course, in the fall. And this is one of the rarer plants. I think Mackenzie's sweet vetch is it only found on Port-au-Port? I think it might be only found on Port-au-Port Peninsula. So
I think it may be a few spots.
Yeah, maybe a few spots in, but there is a nice population of it up on the Cape, and this is right out on the edge of the cliff here. You can see it. And there's quite a lot of it there at that time. This is soapberry, which is a little shrub. And again, this is, I think, more typical of limestone areas. And again, little tiny flowers. Hard to get in focus, but this one came out not too bad. So I figured I'd share that one as well. And then they later come out into red berries. And this is Calm's lobelia. This one was actually in August. So it came out much later. And this also is up on Cape St. George. So the other lobelia, of course, is the water lobelia, I think, which is more on the edges of lakes, I think. But yeah, this is the one we find it around here more commonly. And I think this is hairy goldenrod. I didn't know if it was hairy goldenrod or what's the other one that grows on the Barrens? Multi-rayed goldenrod? But I read both descriptions really closely and I went with hairy, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And that one was also late in the summer. This is the rose twisted stalk. And as I said, at the bottom of the Cape, there is a little campground with some woods there. And this actually grows in amongst the campsites there. So I managed to get a few pictures of that in bloom. And then later, some of the fruit. So that's nice too. It's a really nice, it's again challenging to photograph because, of course, the flowers hang down underneath the leaves. So it's a bit tricky. And now we move out to Three Rock Cove, which is further out on the Port-au-Port Peninsula, out on the coast. And if there's a great big sort of bog up there, so sometimes we go up there and just walk around. So this is spurred gentian, which is kind of a interesting looking flower, a little bit different than some of the other ones. There's that grows along the edge of right on the edge of the cliff. And then this one is the northern bugleweed, which grows very near it. And you can see this year, actually, it was quite dry. And some of the leaves it was kind of crunchy, actually, when I was up there. A few places this year, like I said, it was so dry that when you got there, it wasn't as lush as other years for sure. And this is a little teeny one, northern yellow-eyed grass, which grows right in the bog, right up out of the peat as well. Again, hard to photograph. That was the best I could do there to get that little one, because again, you can imagine it just shaking in that wind. So, and I have some, some of the rare plants and some more common plants. Obviously, fireweed is very common, but out in Kiffins, there is a small little patch there of white fireweed. So I thought it'd be nice to include that. So there's a couple there, and I put a little pink one in the middle just for contrast. This is sea milkwort, which grows in Stephenville Crossing. Stephenville Crossing has a really nice beach there's a small brook that runs out into it. And so there's a few of these type of flowers in around that area. So I thought that would be nice to include. And then, of course, out around Stephenville, there are many big bogs, big peat bogs. So I did include a couple of the orchids from the bogs. The white fringed orchid is really, really common on those bogs. And the ragged fringed orchid, I don't see so much, but this one was actually from Three Rock Cove. I don't see it so much on the peat bogs. I do see it occasionally, but it's not so common as certainly the white fringed orchid. And then, of course, are the three pink ones. Of course, the grass pink, rose begonia, and the dragon's mouth. Dragon's mouth, very common out here at certain times of year. The whole bogs are just pink with it. So that's it, I think, for Port-au-Port area. So then I'll move into Port-au-Choix. So this is out on Port-au-Choix National Historic Site, out at where the lighthouse is. I forget the name of it now. What is it? It's gone from my head. Anyway, it's right up by the lighthouse. And when we went out this year, there's often caribou around there. And this year, the caribou were actually walking right down the middle of the road toward us. So that was kind of an extra little treat. We had to wait for them to go by. So common, of course, in this area and a lot of habitats is the harebell. And I really like to photograph it out in Port-au-Choix because it grows right up out of the gravel, and it's so tiny. Like I've seen it on the beaches in Stephenville. It's quite tall, but out on the barrens, of course, it's quite small. And sometimes you will get an opportunity to see a white one, which I saw one this summer. And this is the Greenland primrose. This is another one of the primroses that grow. And again, this one is usually always white and has these heavier kind of leaves, heavier or more succulent type leaves, I guess. This is the Greenland yellow rattle. So again, that was up on Port-au-Choix. And we were there in the evening, I think, so it's nice light for photography. And of course, pink pyrola is very common in these areas. I think pink pyrola was one of the first flowers that I noticed on the West Coast that was a little bit different. So, and I'm partial to pink flowers anyway. I like the pink ones. So that's nice. This is another gentian. This is the island fringe gentian. And again, there was several of them growing up in that area. And this is the beachhead iris. So again, more common in coastal areas as opposed to the blue flag. But again, it's a very beautiful flower. This is mountain avens again. There's not too many doubles, but I have a couple. I just really like this picture, so I decided to include it. Yeah. This is common moonwort, which is actually a fern. And I photographed this for the first time actually last year I don't know, I just never ever saw it. And then last year I did find it up on Burnt Cape, and I was quite pleased. And then this year, everywhere I went, I saw it. So it's kind of funny. I saw it at Burnt Cape, I saw it at Port au Choix, I saw it at Cook's Harbor. So I guess I just wasn't looking hard enough before. Pretty, again, an interesting plant. And this is plum boy as well. This is quite common in those areas, but I love the deep fuchsia color. So again, I particularly like this one. I was just opening up. And this is the seaside arrow grass, which I guess this is in flower. Is it, John?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird flower, isn't it?
Yeah.
Spiky. Usually I find it's just in later when there's seeds, but anyway, that one's in flower. And I think this is the northern green bog orchid. Or the orchids are still a bit tricky for me sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a small one, but anyway. And this is, I believe, Hoary Draba. So there's quite a few drabas as well. But this one seems to be, again, most common, I think. And this is the reddish sandwort. Again, a very small little plant, but it kind of looks spiky to me. That's the way I usually recognize it. So, and this, I believe, is a dwarf Arctic groundsel. And is it? Yeah. And I haven't seen this much. And actually, I photographed this, and I didn't even really think about it at the time. I just kind of photographing stuff. And when I got home, then I said, what is this? So I didn't even realize at the time what I was photographing. I just kind of took a picture of it. But anyway, I was glad I did. Another one that's very challenging to photograph for me is the small Tophieldia, which is, again, little tiny plant on a long stem. But that was, I think, the best I could get for a resolution on that one. And you can see it looks like there's a few seeds or something just hanging off there, giving an indication of the wind. Again, a more common plant. This is bog rosemary, which is one of the ericaceous shrubs. But again, I just love the flowers on it. And some of these were quite nice, I thought, to photograph. So I included them. And this is the small marshberry as well. And this, as I said, was normally I find it like in wetter areas. You'd think it'd be like sort of in boggy areas. But this is growing right on in the rocks, right at the beach. I think it was at Port au Choix. So obviously can grow in the drier areas as well. And now I'll just have a few from Burnt Cape. So Burnt Cape, I'm sure, again, most people know is one of the ecological reserves, and it is a little outcrop of, or a little region, I guess, of limestone barrens, where most of the unique plants for limestone barrens are. And again, you can just sort of see the landscape here and some of these frost polygons and some of the type of vegetation right here. So this is the Newfoundland orchid, which I think I've only seen growing up there. I don't know if it grows anywhere else.
Pretty much.
Do you know?
Pretty much up there, yeah.
Yeah, just up there. Yeah. Okay.
Smells like vanilla.
Smells like vanilla. Okay. And this is another saxifrage. This is the encrusted saxifrage, which is, I think, a really cool plant as well, because again, you have these little rosettes at the bottom there, the leaves, and then these flowers are really interesting with the little polka dots on them and stuff. So, and it's so neat to go up there. And I remember the first time I went up there, and I just got out of the car and I looked around, and I didn't know any of the plants, and I was like, oh, I thought I was doing so well learning plants. And someone told me to head up that way. When I got up there, I was like, oh, I still have a lot to learn, I see. And of course, now I realize there's always more to learn. And this is a small flowered anemone, which is again quite common on the limestone barrens, and it's pretty typical of most regions I go to. I included this one here from Cook's Harbor because I wanted to show a couple of things. One is that it has this really kind of deep blue color on the underside, which is really nice. But also this gives a good indication of the wind I was talking about, and you can see how all of these are blowing in the same direction. And this is oyster leaf, which is a beach plant. It was growing on the beach there at Burnt Cape. But I included this one because I really like this plant. And I find up there it has an even deeper blue color. It's quite dark. But this one here, you can see it's transitioning from the pink to the blue. And some of them are actually striped. So I thought that was pretty neat. I hadn't really noticed that before. So I figured I'd share that one. And there's a few cinquefoils up in that area. This one is, I believe, the snowy cinquefoil, which, again, you can tell by the leaf here. But this one is hairy on the underside, but not on the top, I believe. And this other one here is the Burnt Cape cinquefoil, or sometimes called pretty cinquefoil, I think. And you can see the leaves on this one are hairy on both surfaces. This year, I didn't get, the flowers weren't really out for this one. Unfortunately, there's a little one here. I don't know if I was too early or too late. I don't know if these are flowers getting ready to come out or if these are seeds starting to form. Anyway, I missed the flowers. This is another orchid, which is the small round leaf orchid. And it's very tiny, but very showy and very beautiful. And you can see it's growing up in the willows, I guess. And this is probably, I think, a dwarf birch there.
Mm-hmm.
These are arnica, which is so funny because it's such a big flower, because most of the flowers on the limestone barrens are so tiny. This one's quite tall. I'm not sure of the species. That's the other thing I'm trying to learn to do, is to take note of leaves and not just flowers. So I'm starting to be more attentive to taking images of leaves as well. But I think it might be the longleaf arnica, but I'm not sure. And this is the naked mightwort, which is, again, a very tiny flower, challenging to photograph, always shaking in the wind. But it's such a cool plant because you can see all these, are these, I don't know if they're sepals or are they part of the petals, these spiky things coming out of them.
Yeah, they're more or less bracts, I think.
Bracts, yeah. But it is a pretty interesting looking plant for sure. And this is river beauty, which is related to fireweed. Quite common in the rivers on the west coast, in the riverbeds and the little rocky areas. But I've never seen it on Burnt Cape before. And I saw it in an area where I visited many times, every time I go up there. So I thought it was interesting that it was there, and I had never noticed it before. And just the fact that it was there in that habitat as well. And this is another sandwort. This is creeping sandwort, which is, again, a very tiny little plant growing in amongst the rocks. And I was wondering about this one. This one, I think, is foliose oxytrope. So most of the oxytrope, is it?
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because it's reddish here and the flower stems are like way off. So I was kind of looking for that for a little while, and I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So
There's some of it above the where the oven is on Burnt Cape.
yeah, I was down that end, sort of.
Yeah,
Like
up
where
on
where
the
the
top of
path
the cliff
is.
there.
Yeah, that's where it is, I guess, yeah. That's good. And this, of course, is the Fernald's Brea, which is one of the endemic plants, I believe. And it's at risk too, I believe, right? So tiny little plant as well. And this one here is a dwarf hawksbeard, which is also a tiny little plant. Even though it looks big, it looks like it's like a dandelion size, but I should have had something there for perspective, I guess, but they're quite tiny little plants.
Big around as a loony bit for the whole
Yeah.
plant.
Yeah. And I think that's it for the Cape. And I'm now going to go on to just some from the Northern Peninsula off Burnt Cape. Just a few pictures here. This is up at Ship Cove, which is just, if you're leaving Raleigh, it's just a little road off to your left. And it's one of my favorite places, I think. And you can see, I put this here because you can see all the wild ducks. So there's tons of ducks up there all the time. And this is in Cook's Harbor. So some interesting plants around here as well. And this is on the road going out to Boat Harbor, I think, where we have a lot of that limestone. And this, as I said, is Ship Cove. I just wanted to include these images because the little rocky outcrop at Ship Cove to me is just like a natural wildflower garden. So such diversity of plants you can see here, all in this one little area. And I think the first year I went up to the to Burnt Cape, I spent a lot of time looking around. I didn't really know where anything was, and it seemed to be a lot of rocks, and I was, struggling to find certain plants. And then we went into Ship Cove, and there they all were, all together in a little tiny spot. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Lots of birds. There's a little Savannah sparrow was there following you around, but there's always lots of birds there I find in the ducks as well. So it is quite a neat spot. This is one of the plants that I found up there, which is the tufted saxifrage, another saxifrage, and that grows in amongst those rocks. So it's quite a big flower for a tiny plant. And this is the alpine bistort, I think, in Ship Cove as well. And this was 3-2 cinquefoil, which is again a common flower, but I liked how I think it was fading and it was kind of pinkish around the inside. And this is now out in Cook's Harbor. So we have some sea thrift, which is grows out in that area. So again, very cool plant with a big ball of a flower on the top. And these are velvet bells, which again are common out in that area and on the Cape as well. I thought it was neat there, though, that most of them are this really purplish color that you see in the center. But there was a little patch up there that were almost red. So I thought that was kind of neat. So I did include some of those here because I hadn't seen that coloration before. But I guess there's variation in them. But most what I have seen were purple or very dark purple. And this is, of course, Moss Campion, which is, again, sort of like ground cover, I guess, a very low growing cushion plant. And that was out in full bloom in most areas when we were up there. Beautiful. This is up in Hay Cove, which is up where, I guess, just where Lance of Meadows is. And we just went up there one evening, and again, this is Starry Falls Solomon Seal. You can see the flowers. And this was out on the beach there. This is Sea Beach Sandwort. Quite plentiful. And this was actually Krantz's cinquefoil, which is another type of cinquefoil. And this one has, I don't know, the screen on my laptop is not the best, but there are little orange sort of regions on this one that kind of gives it away. And then this is Long's Brea. So that's the other Brea. This is down in Sandy Cove, where there is another ecological reserve to protect Long's Brea. And again, I was lucky enough to find some tiny plant. And this is further down. This is just north of Bellburns. This is actually the dwarf tansy. So these are pretty neat as well because they look like daisies without the the petals. And so now I'll move to Gros Morne National Park. And in Gros Morne, again, there's a huge variety of habitats, but most of the plants, mostly I think I went to the tablelands this year, and the tablelands is on the lower side of the park. And of course, that's where you get all this unique geology, and as a result, some unique vegetation as well. And here you can see this larch growing. It's pretty neat. And this on the other side is actually a small trail I just discovered a couple of years ago called Steve's Trail. I like it because it's a little short trail. It's only 1 kilometer long, and it goes to the woods and comes out into a meadow and ends up down on the beach there at Western Brook Beach. So again, a lot of different types of plants in that area. So if you're ever up in the park, I really do recommend that that trail, Steve's Trail. But I think it's by Broom Point. And so this is one of the common flowers that grows, I think, mostly on the tablelands or on that type of habitat, the serpentine barrens. So this is alpine catchfly. And then this one here is Lapland Rose Bay. When you visit the tablelands, there's 3. Well, you can do a hike into sort of in further in the tablelands. It's a couple kilometers long, I think. And then if you're in the backcountry, you can go way on in for a lot longer. But right at the beginning of the trail, there's a little tiny loop. It's just less than 1 kilometer. And it's really neat because a lot of the plants that are typical of that area you can find in that little loop right at the beginning. So that's where I found most of these. This is shrubby cinquefoil, again, a fairly common plant. I included it here again just because I like this image. Sometimes the yellow flowers are really hard to photograph, I find, because they just super saturate the photos and it's hard to get a good image. And I put in the sea thrift again because, again, I find it funny that it grows in this habitat, but it does quite well. There's a lot of it growing in the tablelands. This is gall of the earth, also growing in the tablelands, and you can see the pollen here on these flowers. Some people think this is an ugly flower, but I think it's beautiful. So I guess I like all the flowers, really. I think this is serpentine stitchwort, but I'm not positive. But it certainly has like the spiky leaves on it.
Yeah, the leaves on these are sort of quite dry, and that's why it's called marchescence.
Okay.
So it's like if it looks like they're half dead, then this is.
Oh, okay. I'll keep that in mind. And this is just, we went into Stuckless Pond one day, and this is just a northern bog violet that was growing off just off the edge of the boardwalk there. And these last couple are from Steve's Trail. So again, this is marsh vetchling, which is kind of like beach pea, only a bit smaller and a bit, I don't know, daintier, I guess. I really like it because it gets these really interesting dark blue colors, which I think is not common in flowers. And there's a big field of that when you come out at the end of Steve's Trail. And I included cow parsnip as well, which is very common right up the coast. And again, it's a big, tall plant, but that's also out in the meadow at the end of Steve's Trail. And so I just thought I would include that as well. And of course, twin flower all through the woods there. There's so much twin flower. It's like pink with twin flower. And now moving to Humber Valley and Bay of Islands. So this is just a couple of images from down the Bay of Islands. There is a nature trail there called Bloemen Nature Trail. And then this is actually Bloemen Brook, where it runs out to the ocean. And you can see Weeball, which is the island out here, which is most people are familiar with in the Bay of Islands. Oh, so I want to show here when this day I was down here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bunch of pitcher plants all throughout here. They're kind of hard to see, but this whole region was filled with pitcher plants that day, and they were sort of right and perfect with their petals. So I did include a couple of those. There was so many there. It was quite lovely. These are in Corner Brook now. This is again hooded ladies tresses. So we just went down by the Humber River one day, sort of down toward the end of Riverside Drive, and there were so many of these, and they were again growing right at the peak, I guess. And Queen Anne's lace as well. So I thought this was so nice, and this last picture over here, you can really tell why it's called Queen Anne's lace. I guess it certainly does look like lace. And of course, the first image is when it's just opening up, and I love that the pink edge to it. And then, of course, once it's producing seeds, it goes back to the sun like a bird's nest, sort of. So it is quite an interesting plant.
You notice that little dark flower
Yes,
right in the center? You know what that's supposed to be?
that's supposed to be, was it a drop of blood?
Yeah, Queen Anne apparently stuck her finger when she was sewing.
Yes, I heard that before too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they don't all have it though. That red thing, some do
No,
and
they
some
don't, but
don't.
sometimes it's really quite red and sometimes it's quite dark.
Yeah, and a couple of times I've seen like a patch of little red flowers in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bug there too. There's always a bug if you look close enough. And this is common yarrow. Again, yarrow is one of my favorite flowers. And I'm partial to the pink ones. But this one here I thought was so neat because it's kind of in between. It's sort of pinkish white. But I like that. And this one here as well. Oh, you can see all the flowers. So nice. This is common butterwort, another one that I struggle to photograph. Either the leaves are in focus or the flowers is in focus, but it's hard to get both. So I was happy with this image. Oh, another bug there I just noticed. I don't often at first I never moved anything around the flowers on photograph, and sometimes now I'll kind of push things just a leaf aside or whatever. But I wish I had taken this little rock and spruce needle off, but I didn't anyway. And this is Drummond's Mountain Avens, which I think is kind of rare. Um, this grows at the top of a hill in Corner Brook. And I didn't actually know where this grew. And a friend of mine posted an image of it, and I was like, where did you photograph that? So she told me, and I went up, and sure enough, I found it. So that was nice to be able to photograph that one. And this is another one I hadn't photographed until last year. This is the cut leaf anemone. And this one again I found, and there's a couple of areas around Corner Brook where there's a lot of yellow lady slippers, and so went over actually to photograph the lady slippers. And my husband often comes with me, wanders around, and when we were heading back to the car, he has an older phone with a very poor camera. Anyway, he showed me this image. He said, "What's this?" And I was like, "Oh," wasn't quite sure, but I thought it might be the cutleaf anemone. So we had to go back then, and it took us about an hour to find it again because again it was small. But then we had many trips back. I think it took me 5 trips. I wanted to see it in bloom, so I kept going back every couple of days. But it took about 10 days, I think, for it to bloom. So it was nice. And this is common stitchwort again. Just a nice image where you can see those pink anthers. This is at Bartlett's Point. Oh, sorry, Bartlett's Point, which is again just down in Curling. And this is Ghost Pipe. This is up in Massey Drive, actually, which has a little trail called Tipping's Pond, which a lot of local people use. And so I found this little bunch growing up there. And this is actually down just behind my backyard. So this is water ravens. And again, I think this was in July when these were blooming. And this is large leaf avens. which is again up behind Massey Drive. In Corner Brook now, there's the mountain bike group is actually doing a lot of work in making new trails, and many of them are multi-use. So it's great because they're putting in new trails all the time up in areas where probably weren't really accessible before. So it's kind of neat. And this is the yellow lady slippers I mentioned earlier. So there's a few areas around Corner Brook where these are quite plentiful. And of course, out on Port Port, they're everywhere when they're in bloom. It's amazing how many there are. And this is the pink lady slipper. And then, of course, there's the showy lady slipper as well. It's a few. Gotta know where to go, but there's certainly a lot of them around. And this is a small orchid, the early coral root, which is again grows up behind the new hospital, Corner Brook. And this is the club spur orchid. Again, another one of those white orchids, which are tricky. This one, though, I guess this is the spur, so it makes it a bit easier to identify. And the small purple fringed orchid. So there's big purple fringed orchids too. I think the way to tell them apart has something to do with the anthers and I'm not really sure. But anyway, I'm pretty sure this is a small one.
Yep.
And the next three flowers, I think I did go out to Deer Lake one day. As I said, I tend to go to bogs and barrens a lot, but I'm trying to go to some different areas. So we went out on the shore of Deer Lake, and first thing I came across was the northern water plantain, which I hadn't seen before. So that was kind of nice to see a new flower for me. And it's a little tiny flower growing right out on the edge of the lake. And this one as well, I don't think I photographed before, marsh woundwort. So that was nice to see as well. I guess it's something like looks like a hemp nettle, I guess. And this one as well, I hadn't photographed before, which is called Devil's Beggar Ticks. So I don't even know much about this one. Do you know anything about this one, John?
Well, I don't know. It's got seeds that are really full of spines and they stick to you.
Oh, okay.
That's why beggars ticks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is it fairly common?
It's here and there. You see it here and there, but it's look. You need to come back a little later in the year and photograph the seeds because they're quite wild.
Okay. I'll have to go out and look for it. And this is the other primrose, the Mysticini primrose, which this one does come in white and pink, whereas Laurentian's just pink and Greenland's just white, but this one has two colorations, so that's kind of nice. This is a wild strawberry, and these are everywhere, of course, but I just like this image, so I included it, where it had the new little flower just getting ready to open up. I think a lot of the strawberries, I guess everything grows up around them because in the spring you think like there's going to be millions and millions of wild strawberries, but somehow in the end of the year I don't get a lot of them to pick anyway. And same with this, just a clover, but I just really thought it was a beautiful flower, so include that as well. And the last couple of flowers I have, as I said, are from the Codroy Valley, which is further south again. And there's beautiful beaches in the Codroy Valley, of course. So sometimes we go down there. And this is wild chicory, which is actually an introduced plant. And this does grow around Corner Brook a lot, just around on the sidewalks and stuff. But down in Codroy, it's actually growing right there on the beach. So it's a beautiful blue color. And again, not many blue flowers that color. And this is the spotted touch-me-not. And this is the one where the seed pods, if you touch them, they actually explode. So it's kind of neat. And a very interesting flower as well. And this is the arrowleaf smartweed. Tiny again. You can see how it gets its name. And this is a larger plant. This is bog candles or swamp candles, sometimes they're called. And again, quite a beautiful flower, usually in wetter areas. And this is marsh skullcap, which is again nice plant that often grows, I find, in the same locations as the previous one, in sort of wetter areas. And they have these sort of double little purple flowers growing. So that's all the images that I put together tonight. I wasn't sure about the timing, how long it would take to go through them. These last two, again, this was taken on April 22nd, which was the first day I photographed flowers. And this was the last one I photographed, which was October 12th, which is an aster. And I love it when the petals curl up like that late in the year. So I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to let me show you some of my images. And I wanted to have a shout out too to people who provide resources that I use every day, like Todd for the Wildflowers of Newfoundland, Mike for the Limestone Barrens. I use the Digital Flora, John, almost daily, and also the Flora of Newfoundland Labrador, Sue's digital page. And it's nice to have so many resources of Newfoundland flowers. So I'm really appreciative of those. So I'm just going to go back and unshare my screen, I think.
Okay, and I would invite people to come back if you would like to put yourselves back on and say hello or thank you. My goodness, that was wonderful.
Yeah, I second that.
Carrie, you have a comment there?
It's Mark.
Mark?
Of Mark and Carrie.
Yes.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful images. Beautifully presented. I'm always wondering about how to present things, and that wide screen format gave you the chance to give nice, clean, multiple images. And just really beautiful. What we want to go wildflowering on the West Coast. Obviously, the ideal thing would be just to camp out there for 3 months and travel. I think the advice I want from all of you who are on the West Coast or who have traveled extensively on the West Coast, if you're stuck with only 10 days or 2 weeks, what would be the best window for each of those key locations? I'm not expecting an answer now, but I'd like we'd like advice on that, because I think we're going to have to save the date for next summer.
Pretty much. It depends on where you are, because the different habitats and the different weather conditions and stuff, they're very varied on the West Coast. And if you're going to go, some areas you want to get there quite early in the year, and some areas you don't want to get there until later in the fall. And summer is sort of well, it's such a short period of time that July, or I don't know, the first week in July is not bad, but you'll miss the early things and you'll miss the late things.
Yeah, we usually go up to the Cape, like right up the top, the first week in July, like those first few days in July, or even maybe, like I said, last of June, 1st of July. And as John said, sometimes it depends, because some years depends on the weather and the season. Like if we get an early spring or a late spring, it does kind of influence the flowers. But that first week in July is a good time to go up there.
And even that, about the 1st of July is about as late as you're going to see things like the oh geez, I just got it right in my head. Help me, someone.
Purple
Calypso,
saxifrage.
the Calypso orchid.
Oh, Calypso orchid. I still haven't
Calypso.
seen Calypso
No,
orchid.
because it's
I'm trying.
pretty much over by the 1st
Yeah.
or 2nd of July, except
Oh.
in late years, and then it might not be in.
And you're talking about the limestone barrens on the Northern Peninsula
Yeah,
now? Or was
Yes.
this for? Yeah.
but
Okay.
it's extremely varied from north to south, and you're probably going to go through almost a month of seasonal difference depending on how north or south you are. You know, if you're looking at the same plant, in
Yeah.
the south it'll be over, and in the north it'll be hardly even in bud sometimes.
Yeah, that's
Well-
one thing I find neat is that I can photograph most of these flowers in Corner Brook, or like the more common ones. And then when I head up the coast, they're all just blooming again. You
Yeah,
know, they finished in Corner Brook, but they're just starting up the coast.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of neat.
Well,
One
Leslie,
last question before-
Sorry, Leslie,
What?
your trip reminded me of our group used to go up for a week long, and the images are magnificent. I've got to say, I was like, what are my favorite? But the only thing is, I can tell you is that the two that I always find hard to capture is Gall of the Earth, and even your yellow rattle. The way you captured the yellow rattle, my goodness, it was really beautiful. You could actually put a little book together. I
Oh,
just it's of Newfoundland flowers. Your images. You really mastered your cell phone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Saturation, your colors is just beautiful. It's really well done. Sorry about that,
Thank you.
Carrie.
I certainly agree. I think you're ready to put together a book or a book or something for Western Newfoundland.
Oh,
Yeah, the wildflower photos are all gorgeous. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I have a lot.
Beautifully identified. That's like, it's
just
one thing to take pictures and another to know what you're taking a picture of or figuring it out afterwards. That's great.
Yeah, I do. I do really enjoy it. Like, I don't know what it is about it, but I do love photographing them and learning about them. So
did you start off with a cell phone or did you a single lens reflex? You started off with when 10
Yeah,
years, are you using a cell phone back that far?
when? No, I started off with my I had a Canon Rebel, I think, or something, and I used to take a lot of landscape photographs. Like I always liked taking pictures, and then I had kids, so then all my pictures were of kids for a long time, and then they grew up and didn't want their picture taken. So then I just sort of started taking with the flowers. But I found, with my camera, like if I got a good image, it was really good, but it was hit and miss a lot. Like sometimes,
Wasn't in focus.
yeah, it wasn't in focus or whatever. And so then I started bringing along my cell phone, and so then I take like one with this camera, one with that camera, and then after a while, it was heavy, and I had my whole, and I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna take my cell phone today. And I think after that, I never took my camera again.
I think one thing
Gathering
that
dust.
one suggestion I've got for you, you showed a picture of a moonwort fern.
Yeah.
Mm,
Well,
beautiful.
there's quite a number of species of those in Western Newfoundland. And even other parts of Newfoundland, Burgeo and places like that,
Okay.
and up around the northeast coast of Newfoundland. But on the Northern Peninsula in particular, there's several species of these moonwort ferns, and they're really hard to tell apart at times. And
Okay.
so don't assume that if there's
They're all
10
the
of them in
same.
a ditch, they're just one kind. They could be 4 or 5 species.
Oh, that's good advice. Yeah.
And
I'll have to go back and look
they're
at them.
quite difficult. And there was a fellow called Farrar, Donald Farrar, who came to Newfoundland before COVID, just before COVID, and he's a world expert at it. And his mind was completely blown on the Northern
Oh,
Peninsula, and
okay.
I think he's still trying to figure out what one or two of them are.
Oh, wow. That's
So
good to know.
don't assume because they look generally the same that they are.
Okay.
Mm.
That's good.
I'm always amazed at how some of the flowers look almost plastic, like the primrose. That
Yeah.
it is amazing what nature produces when you take a still photo, a close-up photo, and it's like, wow, we never would know that by if you're walking by it, but you
Yeah,
look at it. Do you actually get down on the ground when you're taking your photos?
I don't get down on the ground. I got this spring actually. I got a new knee, so that's why I was at a commission, and I was a bit miffed that it was at that time of year, but it turned out to be good because the flowers were blooming, and it really motivated me to get out because I didn't want to miss any. But I just bend over, and sometimes I might. No, that's usually what I do. I just bend over, but I do get down low. Yes, yeah, but I don't get down on my belly because it's too hard to get up.
It is. I agree.
Yeah, but I do like to get close, for sure. Yep.
I
Yeah.
think Matt is here tonight.
Yes.
Matt, are you here? Because he's been taking, I have to put my glasses on, taking all his photos,
Yes,
and he has
my
shown
notes
us.
in
So, are you here, Matt?
Yes, I am. I don't know if my
Oh.
mic is working.
Yeah, okay. And
Cool.
you're another one who your photos are fabulous, and you've always used your phone.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been perfect for me, actually. Very cooperative, very convenient, and it's just take it out, click, boom, you got some pictures.
Yeah.
I haven't mastered the magnifying glass so much.
No.
That's
Yeah,
a
that
big
takes
trick
a lot
here
of
too
work.
with your camera and your magnifying glass.
Yeah, I have so many pictures of them that are terrible.
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah,
cherry
you
pick
have to take a lot of pictures to get a good one.
Yeah.
My camera, my phone actually now is getting old. So I am my daughter's my daughter and her crowd, they got the newer ones, and even that every year the phones that come out on the cell phones are so much better.
Mm.
I
It's
know, it's
amazing the
crazy, eh?
resolution that they have. So I'm looking forward to maybe getting a new one soon.
Ooh, I bet there'll be nice
Wow.
pictures.
We'll see. Yeah.
As nice as the ones in the entire slideshow, which for the record were amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure.
Your cow parsnip was gorgeous.
Mhm.
Oh,
The one right in focus there,
yes.
beautiful. Just gorgeous.
Yeah. I liked how that one turned out because it's kind of, again, it's a big plant, but it's hard to photograph
Yeah.
sometimes. But
Yeah.
yeah, it did come out
Different
nice.
way.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Say, Karen, this is Paul Hines, and my picture is blocked somehow.
Oh, let's see if I can figure that out.
You can just say something. Hello,
No,
this is
I
Mark again.
don't see you.
We're
Here.
waiting to get Paul.
Okay. Paul, I think you just have to start your video yourself.
Okay, good. I just want to say I have nothing to do with Donald Trump, so I shouldn't be blocked, right?
Oh, no. We weren't doing that to you, I swear.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Paul has spent a lot of time up on the Northern Peninsula too, even though he's in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
my
bet
wife
you-
Diane and I used to travel up there, bring our travel trailer, and we'd spend a good part of 3 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
there. Most of it up in the Raleigh area and up
Yeah.
and down the total West Coast.
It's a beautiful area.
Yeah.
Yes, but I didn't know if you know it, but Diane was diagnosed with Alzheimer's
Oh,
just prior to COVID.
Yeah.
So about a year ago, she had to go into a memory care facility.
Yes.
But she still loves the plants. So I'll be taking this video of this meeting and, focusing on,
Oh,
the West Coast. And thank you
Yes.
very much, Leslie. You did a wonderful job.
yes.
It
Thank
really
you.
brought back a lot of memories for me.
Paul, both my parents actually also had Alzheimer's. My mom passed away last year. My dad he's in a care facility as well. So that you would show those pictures to your wife really means a lot to me.
Yes.
Thank you.
that's lovely.
Leslie, is there any sign of activity regarding the wind turbines out on the Port Peninsula yet? There's nothing started, is there?
Well, they put in like a wind tower right at the beginning, just to measure wind speeds or whatever. They put one of them right in sort of just off the road, right on the Barrens there. And, there was a little bit of a kerfuffle up front in that. And a lot of people out there don't really want them. But then it kind of just all died. So I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Seemed like it just fell off the radar. I don't know if there's still things in the works in the background or what's going to happen, but right now there's not much going on out there now. No.
Too windy.
Too windy. Too
Oh,
windy.
Yeah.
I really hope they don't go out there, honestly.
No.
Like,
no.
There's better spots in we got lots of spots in Newfoundland where there's nothing, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but out there, it's just,
Yeah. 168 turbines, that's a lot of dig up.
Yeah.
in this small little area like that, like it's
Yeah.
gonna be, terrible, really, I think. Yeah, and they're giant. They're not like regular windmills. They're huge.
No. Giant.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, I'm not against alternate energy, but I just don't want it out there.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
change of tack. I was sharing with Todd Boland at our lovely get together on the coast to the need for a really good basic Newfoundland wildflower website. Not the complete species thing, which is a different kind of thing, but a really good visual introduction to Newfoundland wildflowers. That when people Google Newfoundland wildflowers, they go and they see a body of images. I have my own
Great idea.
I have my own personal website, and I've just redone it, and I'm quite pleased with it. But it's basically the Avalon and mostly St. John's. A lot of stuff on the Avalon, a lot of neat stuff. But obviously, I think to do this really well, you'd want to draw on people with varied expertise. But the question is, if you type in Newfoundland wildflowers, what do you get? And I feel the same about Newfoundland lichens, liverworts, and mosses. But that's another question. Anyway, I mentioned that to Todd, and it's something to think about. It's different in emphasis from the projects that try to document all the vascular plants.
Yeah.
It's a nice, pretty, attractive general introduction. Anyway,
It's a good idea.
it's
Sounds
something.
like you've got one started. And Mark, if you were to share your website, we could certainly with me or someone, we could share it with the Wildflower Society members, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great idea.
It's in better shape now, and it's got a lot of pretty stuff, but pretty stuff from this, and what a wonderful introduction to this was to all that stuff I've seen in the wildflower guides of stuff that's in the West Coast, and sometimes in one little tiny spot on the West Coast, and so on. Anyway, that was a beautiful share, and today, and lovely presentation.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you on the website too. I think it's a great idea because, as I said, I did teach for a number of years, and I taught in the Fish and Wildlife and Forestry Technician programs, and they actually do a wildflower collection, but they just do sort of the really most common things.
Yeah.
But it would be so good for them if they had access to a website like that. They do use we do use Todd's books in our program, but it would be great to have a website, or maybe even an app.
Yeah.
Well,
Whoa.
I don't do that though.
I've got the
Yeah.
I never go anywhere without the guides.
Yes.
Happy.
But your printed field guides
Mm.
can be wonderful, but they're limited in the number of images they can
Mhm.
show.
Yes.
And
that's-
there's so much. There are so many more stories you can tell about plants at different stages and plants from a distance, plants up close. Anyway, I'm at. I'm proud of what I've done, but I'm ashamed of
Oh, no.
everything that isn't there.
Mhm.
But it's newfoundlandwildflowers.ca.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are 4 galleries there, but if you go to newfoundlandwildflowers.ca, it'll take you to the main species gallery, which it's a personal sharing.
Yeah.
It's not.
Sure.
Uh,
I think too, Matt has quite a good website.
Oh,
Yeah, I haven't worked on that.
I
in a
haven't
while, to be
looked
honest
at
with you.
this
I have been
lately,
so
but-
busy, it's insane.
Yeah, you've been busy, but your website is quite useful.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we could share
Both of them.
Matt's and Mark's.
Yeah.
True.
Together. Well, I'm not sure if there's anybody else who has websites for Newfoundland wildflowers per se.
not me.
No. Yeah. It's a great idea. Are there any other comments before we close up this evening?
Marjorie has.
Marjorie?
Yes, thank you, Leslie. That was truly beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really was.
And I'm really glad that we will be making a video. I mean, we've made the video. It's going to be available to watch again, because so often you see flowers and you want to look at the pictures for a little bit longer. So and it will be there, and Matt's is there, and yeah, well, we have quite a number of videos now, so I'm glad of that. So thank you, Leslie, and thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you, Leslie, so much. It's gorgeous.
It was my pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Okay,
There's
well,
a little gift from us coming your way. A small gift we'll be sending along in the mail to you. Thank you.
so good night, everybody.
Thanks, Karen.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Go watch
Thank
the
you for
election now.
presenting.
Take care.
Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.